Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Van Dorn Ministries Practically Spiritual Podcast. This is Lisa, and I will be doing a solo podcast today, and I'm excited you guys are listening in to this episode. So, if you've been watching the Facebook posts, I touched on the village, and I was putting out those posts, and I have a blog post about it on the website. But I just wanted to dive in a little bit deeper into that and talk about it, I would say in person, but over the podcast. That way you can listen in to what the Lord has been showing me in this, at least. So it all started with a podcast that I was listening to, a video on YouTube, and it was talking in context of new mothers. And what is a village? You know, the old African proverb, it says it takes a village in order to raise a child. I think we've all heard that phrase at least at some point, and it's absolutely true. I think it's absolutely important to have a structure of support around you, and because I think we all will all stand back and say, we don't know it all. We don't know what this next season is going to look like. We don't understand everything there is about children, because every single one of them are different. And this really intrigued me about what is a modern day village. What does that look like for the new mother, but also what does it look like in context of your Christian walk? Because I really think it's important that, you know, God was talking to Moses, and whenever Moses was trying to get his structure about him in leading the Israelites, God told him to appoint people to be his counsel around him, not just to help lead Israel through the wilderness, but I don't know, to kind of give Moses a peace of mind, as well as listening to the Holy Spirit. So I'm not saying that you need all this other stuff in order to be spiritual. You need all these people in your corner in order to be spiritual. Absolutely not. But God has put in place a structure of, you know, support around you for a purpose. And if we want to exceed and succeed in our spiritual walk, sometimes we're going to have to lean on those people. Sometimes we're going to have to let other people hold our arms up and lean on their help and go to their counsel whenever you're not sure what's going on. You're not sure what the Lord is doing right now. So just taking a step back and saying, I can't do this myself. I can't do this. I'm kind of struggling, and another perspective would be a breath of fresh air. So that is what this village kind of spun from. So I want to go to, well, let me talk a little bit about what is a village. So in my mind, whenever I think of this old African village that this proverb came out of, there was easily 3 or 4 generations of women there in the camp, where the men are normally out hunting or taking care of the animals, things like that. But the women were there at home, raising the children, cooking the meals, building the structures, starting the fires, taking care of all of the meat that the men brought in. It was a big job. And so all of these, and I'm basing this all off of our Native American knowledge that we now know, that I've walked through a few museums. I don't know all the extensive knowledge, but I have walked through a few museums, and that's what I've seen. And so being able to lean on some of that wisdom and skill that is around you, that's been built up over generations, is what this village looks like. So I can just imagine, as a new mother, I had my first child kind of older than most people do. I had my first child when I was 30, and But I can just imagine if I was 18 years old having a baby, or even younger than that, I would definitely be leaning on a lot of people, because I would still be maturing myself, and trying to understand all facets of like your relationships and your marriage and your children and your relationship with God. Like all of that is still very, very new whenever you're younger. So even having a child at the age of 30, I leaned on my mom. I leaned on my mother-in-law. I leaned on my sister-in-law. I leaned on people from my church, the ladies that were there, that had 4 or 5 different kids. They would give me wisdom about breastfeeding, wisdom about what to do during each trimester and what vitamins to take. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful to have that support, because they knew things that I didn't even know I needed to question. And it really helped me to get my footing with having this first child. And that is what this African proverb is all based on. It's not this new concept of all these new moms on social media. They have this child, and of course they're staying up all night. They're sleep deprived. They're in pain because of the postpartum pain. And maybe they're doing it all alone. Their husband is working. Their husband's out of town, or maybe they don't even have the husband in part of the relationship, and they're doing this all by themselves, and they're posting on social media saying, where is that village? I need to get my laundry done. Where is that village? I need to cook dinner. Where is that village? I need a few moments to myself so I can do self-care. That is not, in my mind, that's not what the village is. The village is there to put your mind at ease, because there's so many other opinions and conflicting reports. Like, really, it seems like one thing I found out was it seems like every 10 years the rules change when it comes to how to lay a baby down to sleep, what to feed the baby, what to what's the safe way to snuggle with them in the chair. Do you co-sleep? Do you not co-sleep? Do you lay them on their belly? Do you lay them on their back? And when do you switch that? When do you stop swaddling? Like all of these things seems to change every 10 years. But the fact of the matter is, you still have a baby that needs to be put down. You still have a fussy baby that you don't know what to do with because you're a new mom. And here comes your own mom. Here comes your own grandmother. Or here comes your aunt and says, honey, just put them down however they're comfortable. They'll be fine. God made babies resilient. And so it just kind of puts your mind at ease to say, oh, okay. And you can drop your shoulders and you can relax, because you've seen your mother, you've seen your grandmother, you've seen your aunts, your sisters all raised children before, and they all turned out fine. And so now you can rest in that confidence. You can rest in that trust. So you finally check that off in your brain of, that's one less thing I have to worry about. That is the point. That's the concept of the village. So it's not someone there to take the baby from your arms so you can go and deep clean the kitchen. It's not somebody to take your baby out of your arms so you can go and make dinner or tackle the 3 different piles of laundry. The village is there to help put you at ease so that you can properly raise this child in peace and in a state of overcoming, put it that way, not a state of chaos. Because another quote I heard was, how you live every day is the person that you are. So if every single day you are overwhelmed, you are stressed out, you are frazzled, you are triggered, all of that is the person that you are. That is the person that your children are seeing. That is the person that your family is coming home to. That is the people that are working with you in the office place. And that's what you'll be remembered by. And that kind of stepped on my toes really hard because I didn't want to be the person who was constantly overwhelmed, constantly disappointed in myself or time management because I couldn't get XYZ done. But it made me take a hard look at myself and say, well, could you make some changes? And that is what I'm talking about here. Is the village is here to nicely and lovingly help you get things back in order whenever you feel like you're falling apart. And in the Christian walk, gosh, I don't know how many times I've seen people walk away from God because they didn't know how to deal with overwhelm, because they didn't know how to deal with disappointment. And if they had only taken those few moments to call on their village, or even make yourself available, put yourself in a village, put yourself there where you can have other people speak wisdom into your life, then that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened to them. And they would be living a much different life now than what they walked away from. So I kind of touched on a few things there. You have to put yourself into the village. And while I was studying this out, the Lord really showed me that the village is your local church. The village for your Christian walk is the people who have been there. They've walked in your shoes in some sort of way, some sort of fashion, and they are still overcoming. You can look at them and say, tell me how many times that you have almost walked away and why you didn't. And this is why I have such a heart for the older community, because gosh, they've seen some things. They've lived through some things, especially ones who are happy, especially ones who have overcome, and they're just cool as a cucumber. And it makes me question, gosh, what have you gone through? What have you gone through that you have just come out on top, sparkling and shining like nobody's business? And just to sit and listen to let them tell you their story, it astonishes me. I love hearing those things. So you have to put yourself into the village and let people nurture you. Let people raise you up. Be around people that you can observe their skill and pick up some of those skills along the way. So I've already talked about this. The church is the local church is the village. And I'll just say, for a personal example, we're living up here in Oklahoma, and there was a season that me and my husband were walking through, whether we should really put down roots here and get involved with our church here, or should we still have one foot in Texas and one foot in Oklahoma, and whenever we have the finances to be able to go back and forth to Texas every weekend, we will? Or do we put down roots here and get established and start serving and really, really go all in to our local church here? And me and my husband were not on the same page. We were both hearing stuff that was totally opposite from the Lord. And that threw me. Because I always thought whatever God tells the husband, he will tell the wife the exact same thing. And sure enough, that's not what happened. So I called up one of my villagers. I called up one of the ladies that we've walked with the Lord together for a long time. She knows my heart. I know her heart. We both know each other's character really well. And I know that she would set me straight if I needed to be set straight, and I could take it from her. And I called her up and was just pouring my heart out and telling her the situation. And she, on the other line, just starts laughing and giggling and Um, and she was telling me, she's like, I've seen this. I've seen what you're going through. The Spirit of the Lord already showed me that y'all are battling this, that you're going through this. And she said, and I'll tell you exactly what I told your husband, because my husband went down to the altar just a few weeks before. And she said, I'll tell you what I told him, is that peace will lead you. Peace will lead you. And you'll be at the right place at the right time. Just go where there is peace. And I was like, well, great. Like, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted you to tell me, yes, I am right, or no, you are wrong. And, just submit, woman, and get behind your man. But that's not what she told me. So that weekend, we had a trip planned to Texas to go to a convention. So we went there, and in the meantime, we met up with our pastors from down in Texas. And we said, this is what's going on. We want your advice. We need your heart. So again, we were calling on our village. And the words of wisdom that they gave us was amazing. It is exactly what we needed to hear in order for us to come together in unity. And we walked away after that week in Texas, after that convention, full set to put our roots down. And sometimes I look back and think, why didn't we do this sooner? But I don't let that sit for very long, because I know that the Lord has us where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be there. So, it's just been amazing. We've been able to connect with this church deeper and deeper, and the Lord has just put life into it. So it's really hard for me to, daydream about other things whenever this is where the Lord has us, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So for a personal experience, I called on my village numerous times just in that one season, and just getting wisdom, like, what do we do? How do we do this? I don't just want to take the easy road out, but I want to go where the Lord wants us to go, but I don't want to get in the way. And I want me and my husband to both be on the same page, because that was the hardest part. That was the hardest part, y'all, because the part of our marriage, or the foundation of our marriage, is both of us hearing from the Lord, and both of us not backing down from what we heard from the Lord. And that was tough. That was tough. But the Lord knew exactly what he was doing. And I think it was to teach me this lesson, that you need to be able to call on your village in times that is hard, and not just muscle through with your own faith over here in the back corner and, suffering through it, whenever you could just call on your village and ask them their 2 cents, and ask them what the Lord would do in their situation. And, gosh, it brought so much freedom, so much freedom. So after saying all this, I want to wrap this up with, how do you become the village? And again, this is already predicated on the fact that you are part of one. You have to be part of a village, and established, and pulling your own weight, and pulling other people's weight. And like I said, imagine that encampment where somebody needs to get the fire started, somebody needs to go get the logs, somebody needs to get the meat out of the smoker or off of the salt racks, and somebody needs to go and make sure that the kids are all safe. Someone needs to go and make sure that we've got water to do the daily washing and daily cleaning. And, all of that is not necessarily spiritual, but it is necessary in order to make this thing function. So you need to be part of a village. And so how do you become that person that people can come to? You have to be trustworthy. You have to be trustworthy in that situation where you know that person's character, and that person knows yours. And if you have a character where every piece of information that you have to blab it to 5 other people. If you have the personality where every time someone comes to you with a problem, you immediately interject your 2 cents, then people aren't going to come to you. If you have the personality or the character where you just draw back and you always stay a recluse, people aren't going to feel comfortable coming to you. People aren't going to feel comfortable approaching you. And that's what I try to be. That's what I strive to be, is the person that people can approach. The person that people can come to, that I don't always have to shove the answer down their throat. I can sit and listen, and I can wait for the prime opportunity for them to ask, and I can give it to them. Or just not being overwhelming. I feel, if you know me personally, I am a very loud, bubbly person. And sometimes that can be a little off-putting, and I understand that. But I also am not going to change my personality because I know that the Lord is in it. And so how do you navigate this? And the thing is you're not going to be everybody's village. You're not going to be everyone's person that they come to, because you can't handle that. You cannot handle that. So the Lord knows what he's doing. And I just want you to be encouraged today, that if you're not part of a village, to get involved in one. And if you are struggling with any kind of situation in your life right now, that you don't know what to do, you don't know how to pray, you don't know, all the avenues that are in your corner, you don't know the situations that could arise, all of those different things, or all you're hearing is negativity, and you want a breath of fresh air, then call up your village. Call up somebody that you know their character, you know that they're going to set you straight, you know that they're going to love you, you know that they're going to be trustworthy. Call up your village and ask them. And don't hold back the vital pieces of information. Don't sit back and pretend like you have it all put together whenever you don't. You're asking for help for a reason. And I think that's one thing that I've struggled with before in the past, is I don't want people to see me being that vulnerable. I don't want people to see me being that much of a mess. But we're all human. We're all on the potter's wheel. We're all being transformed. We're all being changed. And I've noticed the more vulnerable you are in the situations where God wants you to be, the more change takes place. And the more that he can touch your heart in a way that will cause everlasting change, not just something that will change your situation. So call up your village if you need some help today. And, be that person that people can come to. So I love you guys. Thanks for watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, this episode. And I hope next time you can tune in to one that me and David do together. We will do individual episodes like this before, and continuing on. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.